Your toilet is clean. You scrubbed it last weekend. You used the blue gel, the one that costs $9 a bottle, the one that turns the water that particular shade of aqua meant to signal something. You used the brush. You flushed. You replaced the lid, washed your hands, felt the small satisfaction of a thing done. And now, sitting in your bathroom right now, the bowl is already losing that fight. Not because you missed a spot, not because your water is unusually hard, because the very tool you use to clean it is the reason it will be harder to clean next time. Scrubbing a toilet makes it dirtier, not immediately, not in a way you can see this week. But the mechanism is real, it is documented, and it has been running quietly against you every time you picked up that brush. There is a method that costs roughly $1 a month, requires no brush, no bleach, no kneeling on the bathroom floor. It keeps the toilet white and odorless continuously. I am going to show you exactly what it is. My name is Kenji Ito. The credential that matters here is 14 years spent maintaining wet fixtures, tile, stone, porcelain, grout, under a master building restorer who had no patience for products that needed to be bought again next month. He taught me the chemistry of surfaces before he taught me anything else. You do not clean a surface, he said, you manage it. I have applied that to over 400 residential and commercial properties since I left his workshop. In 14 years, I have not used a toilet brush on a maintained fixture. Not once. Not a single time. That is the concrete fact I want you to sit with. Because someone is selling you a brush, a gel, a tablet, and a cistern block every month. And the people making those products understand surface chemistry at least as well as my master did. They are not confused about what their products do. By the end of this, you will understand it too. You will know the mechanism, the method, the cost, and the reason nobody in the cleaning aisle ever explained any of this to you. Here is where we start, with the thing everyone trusts, and what it actually does to the surface you are trying to protect. Vitreous china. That is the material in almost every residential toilet manufactured in the last 6 decades. It looks like glass. It reflects light. Run a clean finger across a new bowl, and it feels smooth enough to be seamless. That smoothness is the glaze. A thin layer of glass fused onto the ceramic body during firing, sitting over the microscopic texture of the clay beneath it. When the glaze is intact, water has almost nothing to grip. Mineral scale cannot find a foothold. Bacteria that cause odor and staining need a surface they can colonize, and a sealed glaze does not give them one. The bowl stays white because the surface is doing its job. The brush ends that. Not in one session, over months, over years, bristle by bristle, pass by pass. Even a moderately stiff brush, and most of the ones sold in hardware stores, are moderately stiff by design because softness does not feel like cleaning. Abrades the glaze. Not visibly, not in a way you notice on a Tuesday morning. But under magnification, what was a sealed surface becomes a landscape of fine scratches. Those scratches are where the calcium carbonate from your tap water finds purchase, where iron deposits set their color, where the bacteria that produce that particular bathroom odor anchor themselves and hold. Here is what I want you to keep in the back of your mind for now. If the act of cleaning opens a surface, and the open surface catches the next stain faster and deeper, what does a weekly cleaning ritual actually accomplish over 5 years? I will answer that precisely. Not yet. Hold it. The blue gel compounds this. It contains surfactants and, in most formulations, a mild bleach component. The bleach does kill bacteria on contact. It also continues reacting with the porcelain surface for hours afterward, slightly softening the glaze chemistry in repeated applications. You are cleaning the bowl and priming it to stain again in the same motion. The blue water in the cistern, the tablet fizzing against the porcelain just below the waterline, all of it does one thing. One thing only. It makes you feel like something is being managed. The surface tells a quieter, more expensive story. Now here is the mechanism. Plain, no mysticism in it. Tap water is not pure. It carries dissolved minerals, primarily calcium and magnesium bicarbonates, the compounds responsible for what is called hard water. When water sits still in a bowl, those minerals begin to precipitate out of solution. They settle onto the nearest available surface. This is limescale. It is not grime. It is not the consequence of neglect. It is basic precipitation chemistry happening continuously at room temperature in every toilet in every building connected to a municipal water supply. Fresh limescale is soft. In the first 24 to 48 hours after deposition, it is not fully crystallized. It wipes off with almost no resistance. Leave it for a week, the interval between most people's cleaning sessions, and it has hardened into calcium carbonate crystal, bonded to whatever surface irregularities it found. Now it requires either abrasion or acid to remove. You already know what abrasion does, so let us talk about acid. Calcium carbonate is alkaline, sitting at a pH between 8 and 9. Introduce an acid and the bond breaks. The crystal dissolves back into solution and flushes away. The porcelain beneath it is untouched because you are not scrubbing anything. You are simply reversing the chemistry that formed the deposit. This is how espresso machine descalers work. This is how commercial dishwasher maintenance works. This is how my master cleaned stone grout on buildings that had not been touched in 40 years, not with pressure, not with abrasion, but with the right acid applied and given time. Now pay off the thing I asked you to hold. If scale forms continuously and you wait a week to address it, and your method of addressing it also damages the surface it is trying to clean, the ritual is making the problem progressively worse. Each cleaning session is both a partial solution and a compounding of the next problem. That is not a metaphor. That is the literal cycle you are in. Interrupt the cycle. Do not fight the deposit. Dissolve it before it becomes a deposit. Here is exactly how. Citric acid powder, not lemon juice, not white vinegar, though I will come back to vinegar. Citric acid powder, sold in small bags at grocery stores, hardware stores, canning supply sections, sometimes in the descaling products aisle. A 500-gram bag costs between $1 and $2, depending on your location. At the application rate I'm about to give you, that bag lasts 4 to 6 months. Every 3 days, not weekly, not monthly, every 3 days, put 2 level tablespoons of citric acid powder directly into the toilet bowl. Not into the tank, into the bowl. Do not brush anything. Do not scrub anything. Let it sit for 15 minutes while the acid works at pH levels the calcium carbonate cannot survive. Then flush. That is the complete action. 90 seconds of your time, once every 3 days, and the mineral cycle never gets to the hardening stage. Nothing bonds, nothing stains. Nothing requires a brush because there is nothing to remove for a toilet that already has established scale. The orange ring at the waterline, the white mineral crust below the rim. Use 4 tablespoons, shut the lid, and leave it overnight. In the morning, the deposit will release from the surface with a single pass of a soft cloth. No pressure, no scrubbing. The chemistry did the work during the night. The documentation here is not anecdotal. A review published in Environmental Science and Pollution Research confirmed that citric acid at concentrations achievable through ordinary household application is effective at dissolving calcium carbonate scale and reducing bacterial colonization of porcelain surfaces. Because the bacteria that cause odor and staining bond to mineral deposits, not to clean glazed porcelain. Remove the scale continuously, and you remove the bacteria's foundation. The professional descaling industry, the manufacturers of products used on commercial espresso machines, industrial kettles, and food service equipment, uses citric acid as the primary active compound in most formulations. You are purchasing the same chemistry, unbranded, by the bag. $8 a year. That is the annual cost of this method at current prices. Hold that number. The knowledge did not vanish because someone locked it in a vault. My master knew citric acid. Every serious tile and stone restorer I have met knows it. The compound appears in professional maintenance literature going back decades. It is not obscure in the trades. It is only obscure to the person standing in the cleaning aisle at a grocery store, looking at $9 bottles of blue gel and wondering why the toilet always looks like this again by Thursday. Follow the arithmetic. A bottle of blue gel at $9, used twice a week, is roughly $45 a year. A toilet brush at $5, replaced annually per the hygiene guidance printed on most packaging, is another $5. Cistern tablets, 3 to 4 packs a year at $10 each, add $40. The in-tank bleach blocks that slowly degrade the rubber flush, valve seal, contributing over time to the plumber's visit that costs you $200 and an afternoon. That cost is harder to assign to a single product, but it belongs in the column. $100 a year, conservatively, for a toilet that is getting progressively harder to clean because the method is quietly damaging the surface between sessions. Someone is selling you the gel, the brush, the tablet, and the block every single month. The people formulating those products have access to the same material science that my master handed to me on a job site in my mid-20s. They are not uninformed about what repeated bleach application does to a glaze over time. They are not confused about whether a stiffer bristle abrades porcelain. The citric acid bag cannot support an advertising campaign. It cannot pay for shelf placement at eye level. It cannot sponsor the segment on the morning program where someone demonstrates how fast the blue foam works. A $2 bag purchased 4 times a year is not a business model. The blue gel, repurchased weekly, forever, is. There was no agreement made to hide the powder. The powder simply has no one whose livelihood depends on you finding it. So the shelf fills up with color and fragrance and branded promises, and the citric acid sits in the canning aisle. Quiet, doing nothing to sell itself. That is not a mystery. It is arithmetic. Let me be straight with you now. Citric acid is not a disinfectant. It will not sanitize a bowl after illness passes through your household. For that situation, use a proper disinfectant, once, deliberately, and then return to the maintenance routine. This method is not for crisis cleaning. It is for preventing the conditions that require crisis cleaning. I will also say this honestly. If your toilet has been scrubbed weekly for 10 or 15 years, the glaze damage is real, and it is cumulative. The method still works. The overnight soak will remove what has built up. But a heavily abraded surface will rust stain faster than a new one because the scratches do not disappear. You are managing a more difficult surface. Expect the routine to take a few weeks before you see the full effect. And if you prefer to start tonight with what is already in your kitchen, white vinegar, undiluted, half a cup. Pour it into the bowl. Leave it 30 minutes. Flush. It works on the same chemistry, acetic acid dissolving the calcium bond. It is less concentrated than citric acid and needs to be applied more frequently, perhaps every 2 days rather than 3, but the principle is identical and the cost is nearly nothing. It is not the strongest version of the method. It is the version that requires no shopping trip. The whole rule, short enough to remember without writing it down. Citric acid powder, 2 tablespoons, directly into the bowl, every 3 days, 15 minutes. Flush. No brush. No gel. No blue water. $8 a year. That is the system. A person could fit it on a piece of tape inside the cabinet door. My master used to say that a surface maintained from the beginning never needs to be rescued. He was talking about stone floors on old buildings, but he was also talking about everything else. The toilet, the grout, the copper pipe, the wooden workbench. The people who repair things for a living understand what neglect costs, because neglect is what calls them in. Start early. Stay gentle. The surface will outlast the effort of the people who treated it like a problem to be solved once a week with force. Next time, I am going to show you what hard water does to a showerhead from the inside, and why the pressure drop you have been living with for 3 years is not a plumbing problem. It is a chemistry problem, and the fix costs the same as today, takes less than an hour, and requires nothing you do not already own. Until then, put down the brush, buy the bag, let the chemistry work the way chemistry was always going to work, whether or not anyone told you about it.